프랑스인의 삶에 대해서 계속 공부를 해봅시다. 이 프랑스 문화 전반에 관한 이야기를 하고 싶은 건데, 프랑스인들의 일상생활 속에 프랑스 문화가 다 녹아있는 거기 때문에 이거를 조금씩 하는 거예요. 오늘은 프랑스 사람들은 어, 샤를 드골, 대화를 나누고 싶은 인물, 샤를 드골, 나폴레옹, 8등이 마리 큐리 부인 알죠? 호감을 느끼는 인물, 1등이 마리 큐리, 2등이 ዣ 물랑, 레지스탕스 운동을 하던 그런 우리식으로 하면은 뭐 윤동주, 뭐 이런 이육사 이런 비슷한 사람들이죠. 아까 대화를 나누고 싶은 인물 나폴레옹이 2등이었었는데 가장 싫어하는 인물 또 나폴레옹이에요. 왜냐면 히틀러 비슷하게 유럽을 정복하려고 유럽 전체를 그런 전제주의적인 사고방식을 갖고 있었기 때문에 싫어하는 거죠. 루이 14세 엄청난 베르사유 궁을 짓고 자기네 그 훌륭한 왕으로서 한편으로 생각하는가 하면 한편으로서는 싫어하는 인물들에 속해 있어요. 3등을 했군요. 또 드골 대통령조차도 이렇게 싫어하는 인물 10등 안에 들어요. 우리도 마찬가지죠. 어떤 정치인들은 이승만 좋아하는 사람이 있지만 무지하게 싫어하는 사람이 있고, 박정희 마찬가지죠. 나는 김대중 노무현, 지금 문 대통령인데 그쪽 계열입니다. 좋아하지만 그러나 또 김대중을 싫어하는 사람들이 굉장히 많고, 원래 세상은 그런 거죠. 자, 프랑스 하면 떠오르는 것 중에 하나가 개인의 취향을 구라고 그래요. 구, G-O-U-T, U자 위에 악산 시르공플렉스 있어요. G-O-U 악산 시르공플렉스 때 뒤에는 T자는 발음 안 나요. 구. 영어로 하면 테이스트죠. 테이스트. 퍼스널 테이스트를 굉장히 중요하게 생각하는 나라가 프랑스죠. 그리고 프랑스 하면은 패션, 그리고 향수, 화장품, 이런 남성이든 여성이든 그 아름다움을 추구하는 그런 액세서리랄까 이런 걸로 굉장히 유명한 나라잖아요. 근데 그 나라가 프랑스가 그렇게 되게끔 하는데 중요한 역할을 한 사람이 샤넬입니다. 원래 이름은 가브리엘 샤넬인데 고아원에서 자랐어요. 수녀원에서. 그 수녀원의 그 클래식한 그런 여러 가지 뭡니까 그 조형물들 십자가니 빛나는 그 광채 나는 거며 스테인드 글라스며 또 수녀들이 입는 옷 이런 데서 여러 가지 영감을 얻어 가지고 말하자면 20세기 초반부터 중반 후반에 이르기까지 이 패션의 혁명을 일으킨 샤넬이 없었다면 여성의 민주주의는 이루어질 수 없었다라고 얘기할 만큼 그런 엄청난 사람이에요. 오늘은 이 패션에 대해서 이야기를 하면서 샤넬을 빼놓을 수가 없어서 샤넬에 관한 그런 시간이 될지도 몰라요. 원래 가브리엘 샤넬인데 이제 18살까지만 그 수녀원 고아원에 있고 그 다음에 나와서 혼자 자립을 해야 된단 말입니다. 그럴 적에 술집에서 이렇게 심부름을 하면서 뭐 맥주잔을 날리면서 코코리코 코코코 코코리코 코코코 이런 노래 가사가 들어간 그 노래를 흥얼거리면서 다녔어요. 그때부터 코코 샤넬이라는 별명이 붙어가지고 지금은 가브리엘 샤넬보다 코코 샤넬로 더 많이 알려져 있죠. 뉴 밀레니엄이 될 적에 20세기 100년을 이끈 위대한 사람, 20세기 100년을 이끈 위대한 사람 100명을 뽑았을 적에 물론 아인슈타인도 들어갔지만 샤넬도 들어갔어요. 그 중에서 10명을 출연했어요. 10명을 출연했을 때 샤넬이 또 들어갔어요. 샤넬이 없었다면 오늘날의 여성은 있을 수가 없어요. 왜 그러느냐? 여러분들 그 타이타닉 봤습니까? 타이타닉 보면 거기에 그 부르주아 엄마들이 나와요. 부르주아 엄마들이 나오는데 막 그 모자 온갖 장식 꽃 같은 거 달고 막 모자가 이만하고 핸드백 걸고 그 보석 목걸이 치렁치렁 달고 그 다음에 허리는 막 코르셋 쫙 묶어가지고 밑에는 몽롱하게 해서 이게 잘 걷지도 못하는 그런 식의 옷을 입었었거든요. 부르주아 여자들이. 근데 그 모든 것을 미니멀리즘, 간편하게 스커트도 무릎에서 딱 자르고 또 검은색, 베이지색 이런 것들을 의상에 도입하고, 그동안은 그 진짜 보석만 액세서리로 다루는데 모조 보석을, 가짜 보석을 액세서리로 사용할 수 있게끔 만들고, 그다음에 핸드백을 항상 들고 다니기 때문에 여자들이 손을 쓸 수가 없어요. 한 손에 양산 들고 한쪽에 핸드백이 있으면 뭐를 합니까? 근데 거기다 체인 끈을 달아 가지고 숄더백 어깨에 걸고 비스듬하게 걸고 하면 손이 자유롭잖아요. 그런, 말하자면 검은색을 패션에 도입하고 모조 보석, 인조 보석을 모든 여성들에게 제공하게 하고, 그걸 달고 있어도 부끄럽지 않게끔 만드는 것이 샤넬이에요. 뭐 한두 가지가 아닌데 요거 차곡차곡 보면서 공부를 합시다. 우선 자, 이 동영상을 봅시다. 패션이 어떤 건가? 파리 패션을 먼저 보여주려고 그래요. 2017년 패션쇼 하는 건데, 봄, 여름 패션쇼네요. 이거를 보면 샤넬 의상이 어떤 건가가 금방 감이 잡힐 거예요. 이 사람들 옷을 보세요. 이런 옷, 잘 보이죠? 이걸 조금 더 가까이 갖고 갈까요? 네, 오래 볼 필요는 없어요. 자, 이번에는 또 다른 영상을 봅시다.
Вновь обращаюсь я, ваш отец. Прошу вновь вашего внимания. Хочу вновь через мою дочь передать многие языки космоса, чтобы вы все поняли, космос живой, многолик, многообразен. И через ее голос вы услышите
smoke and mirrors, the illusion called the city. Sweat and tears, the sizzling neon gypsy. Fantasy, hot and hungry tease, a stigma in every direction. Kept light and forced by a stuck night like a barracuda.
벌써 샤넬 패션이 어떤 건가 여러분들이 감이 왔을 겁니다. 겨울 패션을 하나 봤으면 좋겠는데,
Fantasy, hot and hungry tease, a stigma in every direction.
이건 디올이야, 샤넬이지.
if you need someone to blame. Pull from my neck and my eyes if it means you don't hurt anymore. Just twice we've spoken since.
자, 이 정도면 이 샤넬 슈트에 대해서 감이 잡힐 거예요. 감이 잡힐 텐데 오늘은 샤넬이 과연 얼마나 위대한 인물인가 그거에 대해서 계속 공부를 하도록 하겠습니다. 자, 봅시다. 샤넬.
Once upon a time, there lived a little girl who hid her humble origins all her life and preferred to invent her own legend. Once upon a time, Gabrielle Chanel was born under the sign of the Leo to a traveling peddler and a laundress who died at 32, exhausted by life. Once upon a time, there was a father who abandoned his 5 children and had his 3 daughters sent away to an orphanage. At 12 years old, Gabrielle would never see him again. Forever after, she pretended that he had left to make his way in America. Once upon a time, there was an orphanage behind the walls of the convent, the Abbey of Aubazine, where Gabrielle spent nearly 7 years. The Romanesque purity of this ascetic world would inspire her sense of austerity and her taste for black and white, while the opulence of religious garments and ceremonial objects would spark her fascination with Baroque style, gold and colored gems in years to come. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl who spent her days sewing and her nights singing in a cabaret before troops of cavalrymen. She was called Coco because she often sang "Who's Seen Coco" in the Trocadero. She always preferred to pretend that Coco was the nickname given to her by her father. Once upon a time, a young woman with a boyish allure refused to ride side saddle on the horses of a well-born cavalier, Etienne Balzan. She dressed like no one else, taking her inspiration from masculine attire and inventing new styles of hat, which she stripped off their birds and feathers to make them simpler, lighter, more chic. Her first clients were working girls, but society quickly followed. Once upon a time, there was a great love named Boy Capel. English, wealthy, and cultivated, he was the man of her dreams. He introduced her to literature, the Orient, and the esoteric. Boy helped Coco become Chanel. She decided to open her first boutiques in Paris, Deauville, and Biarritz. She wanted to work to win her liberty. Once upon a time, a revolution came to pass when, in a stroke of genius, Coco Chanel transformed the female silhouette. She shortened dresses, revealed ankles, freed the waist, eliminated corsets, revived jersey, cut her hair, and bronzed her skin. Chanel closed one era and launched a new century of fashion. Once upon a time, at 31 Rue Cambon, Mademoiselle Chanel opened her first couture house in Paris in 1918. The little country girl, the orphan of Aubazine, had become the queen of Paris. Before liberating women, she had liberated herself. Once upon a time, there was a love story that ended abruptly. Boy Capel died in a car accident. For the first and last time, Coco Chanel was seen to cry. "Either I die as well," she said, "or I finish what we started together." She chose to go on.
자, 또 봅시다.
Once upon a time, in 1920, Coco became Mademoiselle. Europe had formed a fragile peace and women were embracing the style of the woman who had given them the right to comfort. Coco, who had just lost the love of her life, supported Mademoiselle as a country girl with Misia and José Maria Sartre. Once upon a time, there was Misia, the friend from Russia, faithful and formidable, a whimsical muse, friendly flatterer, inspiration to Proust, celebrated pianist and model for Toulouse-Lautrec, Renoir, Bonnard, and Vuillard. Misia inspires Mademoiselle to fall in love with Italy and the Ballet Russe, and introduces her to her friends Cocteau, Stravinsky, Diaghilev, Ravel, and Picasso. Once upon a time, a couturière was beloved by artists. She designs costumes for the theatrical presentations of Dulin and Cocteau, finances the Rite of Spring, houses Stravinsky and his family, helps Cocteau during his rehabilitation and discreetly arranges the burial of Diaghilev in Venice. Once upon a time there was a prosperous Russian, the Grand Duke Dmitri, refugee from the Great Bolshevik Revolution, a lover with a melancholy gaze. She's 8 years old.
1918년 19년에 러시아에서 혁명이 일어납니다. 러시아 귀족들이 유럽으로 많이 오게 돼요. 그 중에 한 명이 샤넬을 지원하는 거죠.
Thanks to him, Mademoiselle meets Ernest Beau, perfumer to the Tsars, who creates in 1921 the ultimate perfume, No. 5. Once upon a time there was a gentleman with an English elegance, a luxury beyond aristocracy, the Duke of Westminster.
샤넬 넘버 5는 25초에 한 병씩 팔리는 세계에서 가장 유명한 향수죠.
By the vest of his valets, by the berets of his sailors. They fall in love. Westminster invites her to his houses and on board his yachts, sends a private train to collect her and showers her with flowers and jewels. Their love soon wanes. She'd never become a duchess. Once upon a time, black assumed the throne. At the opera, before the motley kaleidoscope of gaudy gowns, Gabrielle Chanel declares her distaste for the era, announcing, "These women, I'm bloody well going to dress them in black." Formerly reserved for house servants or for mourning, black becomes the ultimate colour and the key to her success. The little black dress is born. Once upon a time there were costume jewels which Gabrielle Chanel loved to mix with precious stones. She reproaches the women of the world for wearing their fortunes around their necks, saying, "What counts is not the carats but the illusion." Once upon a time, a triumph. The whole world wants to wear Chanel, including Hollywood, but Gabrielle quickly moves beyond the caprices of the silver screen and returns to France, establishing herself at the Ritz. Once upon a time in 1936, a company's founder is faced with 4,000 workers on strike during the spring of the Popular Front. They dare to defy her. Mademoiselle, by nature so unyielding, gives in. Once upon a time, the Second World War was announced. At 55 years, at the height of her glory, Gabrielle Chanel closes the atelier on the Rue Cambon. Convinced that this is no longer the time for fashion, she withdraws to Switzerland. But as one who liked to say, "I want to be part of what happens," Mademoiselle was far from having said her last word.
자, 봅시다. 이게 3분 30초, 3분 20초 그렇거든요. 그거 오늘 5개만 볼 거예요. 샤넬 자켓. 아까 패션쇼 할 때 대표적으로 나왔던 자켓. 이게 여성 자켓의 대표가 됐는데 이걸 샤넬이 만드는 겁니다.
Le symbole d'une certaine élégance féminine nonchalante, hors du temps, ça veut dire de tout le temps.
1954. The fashion of the day is flamboyant, exuberant. The balconette necklines, wasp waists, and frou-frous of the prevailing young designers evoke a hesitant culture struggling to break with the successes of the 1940s. 1954 still. Gabrielle Chanel is 71 years old and raring to go. She plays a master stroke and reopens her maison de couture. She adopts elegance, movement, minimalism, and straight cuts in a time which is desperately struggling for modernity. The functional logic is unstoppable.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a de plus difficile dans votre métier?
Permettre aux femmes de bouger aisément, ne pas se sentir déguisées, ne pas changer d'attitude, de manière d'être selon la robe dans laquelle on les a fourrées, c'est très difficile. Et le corps humain bouge tout le temps.
From Scotland, which she discovered in her youth with the Duke of Westminster, Chanel brought back tweed, which will be the basis of her jacket. The wrap-over skirt stops at the knee. The jacket, inspired by menswear, is straight and fluid without interfacing. The ensemble provides absolute freedom of movement. Four real pockets, braid in matching tones or contrasting, buttons stamped with the symbol of the house, and especially, new for the period, no buttons without buttonholes. Finally, sewn into the silk lining, a delicate chain to ensure that the jacket falls perfectly. A revolution. It was an incontrovertible success. The international press, hungry for modernity and change, acclaimed the style and allure of Chanel. She made the front page of magazines worldwide. The clients followed. The most beautiful women were soon seen wearing the Chanel jacket. Brigitte Bardot, Grace Kelly, Romy Schneider. The jacket became the fashion essential. In 1983, excess was the order of the day. Karl Lagerfeld took over the Parisian creative studio and began playing with the codes of the house. Through the seasons, the jacket was seen paired with a matching skirt, mismatched with jeans, embroidered, and in color, pastel, bright, or black and white. The jacket lends itself to all metamorphoses, adapts to all daring creations. Today, almost 60 years after its creation by Gabrielle Chanel, the jacket has become the cornerstone of contemporary fashion. There are things in fashion that never go out of style. Jeans, a white shirt, and a Chanel jacket, concludes Karl Lagerfeld.
계속해서 샤넬이 어떤 사람인가를 계속 공부합니다.
5 numbers. Chanel, Paris. Number 1, Rue Cambon. Immerse yourself in the Rue Cambon, synonymous with Chanel, and walk past the numbers 21, where it all began in 1910 when Gabrielle Chanel opened her millinery shop, then 29, 25, 23, 27, and now 19, where season after season Karl Lagerfeld's collections are presented. Enter, finally, at 31, the address of a lifetime. Climb the staircase that so many clients and celebrities have ascended. Coco covered its walls with mirrors, arranged so that her designs would multiply infinitely and her legend would be reflected for all time. Sit on a step, the vantage point from which Mademoiselle, hidden from view, oversaw the presentation of her collections. Descend to the salons on the first floor. Until 1971, young women from high society modeled designs in these rooms. Today, only celebrities and haute couture clients have their fittings in this palace of white, beige and black, designed by Karl Lagerfeld. Reach the inner sanctum, the atelier. Here, she made and remade her designs directly on the models, cigarette at her lips, scissors about her neck and pins in hand. To create the collections of tomorrow, Karl Lagerfeld has refashioned the space. Versailles hardwood sheathed in silver leaf, windows veiled in organdy, white walls covered with sketches. Reach the last 2 floors where the head seamstresses and the dressmakers, all in white aprons, bring the sketches to life. Number 2, the apartment. Leave the black and white sobriety of the salons and immerse yourself in the baroque world of Mademoiselle's apartment, which she seems to have just left. A foyer, a study, a living room, a dining room, no bedroom. A harmonious chaos where each object reveals Gabrielle Chanel's inspiration without divulging her secrets. Screens of Coromandel lacquer, octagonal mirrors, a chandelier adorned with camellias, the 5, the 2 and the double C monogram, stylized stalks of wheat, Buddhas, lines and statues of the Virgin Mary and Aphrodite, which eternally stand guard. Number 3, the Ritz. Indulge at the Ritz, where Gabrielle Chanel takes residence in 1937, first in a suite with a view of the Place Vendôme, later in 2 rooms overlooking the Rue Cambon. Here she will pass away one night in January 1971. Number 4, 18 Place Vendôme. Open the door of the Hotel Cressard, which was entirely refurbished by Chanel in 1997 to house its fine jewelry collections. She was the first woman and the first couturière to step into this opulent world where her name still endures. La Place Vendôme. Number 5, the Grand Palais. Gaze upon the monumental theatre of the Chanel runway shows, the Grand Palais. Under its towering dome, magical sets make each collection a revolution. A forest of oak and pine, a Venetian lion 40 feet tall, a shivering ice floe, an immense French garden punctuated with fountains, or, as on a film set, the Rue Cambon identically recreated. With Karl Lagerfeld, fashion takes on the world and Paris remains eternally shining in Chanel.
마지막으로 하나 더 봅시다. 그리고 오늘 수업을 끝내겠습니다. 패션에 가는 것만 나왔고 향수에 가는 건 안 나왔거든요. 향수는 다음 시간에 하기로 해요.
Chanel is a vocabulary, a set of canons, a discipline, a grammar. The handbag. Chanel drew inspiration from men's military satchels. Their bags equipped with straps became an essential, which he refashioned in jersey fabric lined with gros grain. In February 55, Gabrielle Chanel gave it a quilted diamond-shaped pattern for improved wear and comfort, enhanced it with burgundy lining, stamped it with a double C, and transformed the strap into an interlaced chain slipped through 2 eyelets. The 255 was born. The little black dress, a revolutionary style reminiscent of the uniform worn by the nuns at Aubazine. It did away with the constraints of corsets and created a new silhouette, that of Parisian chic. Karl Lagerfeld constantly reinvents it in jersey, crepe, and silk. The costume jewelry, the illumination of Gabrielle Chanel. Long necklaces made of Baroque gemstones, cabochon crosses, and crystal adornments depict precious glimpses into her life, where Venetian and Byzantine influences are side by side with the Duke of Westminster's England and the Grand Duke Dimitri's Russia. They enhance the structure of any dress, like stained glass from the Middle Age illuminates a nave. The camellia, a flower picked from coromandel screens used to embellish hats.
까멜리아가 동백꽃이라는 말입니다.
She
동백꽃.
preferred white camellias and would depict its geometric perfection on a little black dress like a halo of light, either made of cotton, leather or silk, embroidered, printed or knitted. The camellia is completely scentless as not to cast a shadow on number 5. The chain. Coco reinterprets it into belts, bracelets and necklaces. She would weave them out of leather or embellish them with charms. Karl Lagerfeld uses them abundantly and transforms them into rhinestone and resin. Its most mysterious manifestation, the chain-link trim sewn inside the hem of the Chanel jacket to ensure a perfect fall. The two-tone shoes. The final touch of elegance, as Gabrielle Chanel used to say. They were two-tone because beige lengthens the leg, while black hides spots and makes the foot appear more petite. In form of pumps, boots or sneakers, the two-tone shoe fits all walks of life, putting the ultimate finishing touch on the silhouette. With a graphic
여자들 하이힐에 2가지 색깔을 넣어서 만드는 최초의
symbol of
사람이죠.
good luck worn around the neck. Gabrielle Chanel wore endless
진주.
strands with her outfits.
모조
She
진주.
would only appear in her workshops bearing her luminescent shield and cherished their white color, which enhanced her signature black. Like a magician, Karl Lagerfeld lavishly experiments with pearls to make them the shimmering signature of Chanel. Tweed. Originally from Scotland, Gabrielle was inspired by the Duke of Westminster, who wore it hunting, and she softened the fabric to create timeless, comfortable suits for women. Reworked each season, tweed is reinvented by Karl Lagerfeld to create silk-lined jackets, showcasing legendary braided trim or a casual fringe. The tweed jacket never goes out of style. As Mademoiselle used to say, fashion passes, style remains.
간단하게 샤넬에 대해서 공부를 했는데 어마어마한 사람입니다. 의상의 혁명뿐만 아니라 여성 생활에서의 민주주의를 앞당긴 그런 사람이에요. 그러나 아직 향수에 관한 이야기는 못했어요. 향수에 관한 이야기는 다음번에 좀 하기로 합시다. 오르부아.